I'm Sophia Roy, a 7th grader at McCarthy Middle School. Welcome to Ask the Superintendent. In this episode, we field questions on winter weather, school security, and school breakfast. CHS is busy with activities after school and into the evenings, and during those times, the building is open for anyone to enter. Are there any plans to increase security after school hours?
Thank you, Sophia, for bringing us that question. The district takes school security very seriously. At Chelmsford High School in particular, it's a very large and expansive campus, so there's been a lot of effort that's gone into securing that building and making it as very secure and safe for staff and students as possible. District-wide, over the last couple of years, we've made a major emphasis on upgrading our school security systems, security cameras, building intrusion systems over a 3-year period. So this past summer of 2019, both of our middle schools were upgraded with the latest technology, Parker and McCarthy Middle Schools. In year 2, this coming summer, Chelmsford High School will receive an upgrade. So we'll be adding some additional cameras on each of our entry and exit doors in the facilities. We'll be adding some swipe access for staff and potentially students in the future to be able to swipe in and swipe out of school to create a more secure environment. And also at Chelmsford High School, one of the things that we are looking to do is possibly have a secure single entrance at the main part of the school. Right now, during the school day, people come into the high school, they buzz to get past the entranceway, and then they go check in at the main entrance across the hall. We realize it is possible for someone to buzz in at the door and then not go across to the office to sign in. So that is something that we've identified as an issue. We're considering building, again, that secure entrance at the front of the high school, where all staff or students after the beginning of school will be directed. Parents, if they were coming during the school day to perhaps drop something off for their child, would stop at that security point and conduct their business there. The high school does pose some issues for us, particularly after school evenings and weekends, because a lot of access actually comes from the rear of the building. So we have students and coaches entering the gym for sports practices, performing groups that might be entering the PAC for performances. So we are still trying to figure out how we will work with the rear of the high school to make sure that that stays as secure as possible, but also allows our staff and students to be able to come and go from their activities. So in summary, we do as a district actually take security very seriously. We're entering year 2 of a 3-year rollout. In year 2, Chelmsford High School will receive some new technologies and some new security enhancements. Those will come during the summer of 2020. So I think when students arrive in the fall of 2020 to start the school year, they'll see some increased security measures at Chelmsford High School. Thank you for bringing us that question. It's something that's ongoing and will continue to evolve in the years to come.
Hi, I'm Keohane, an 8th grader at Parker Middle School. I have a few more questions for the superintendent. ARPINEH has a high school student with a parking pass. She's heard that some New Hampshire schools allow students with parking passes to purchase a reduced rate bus pass to use in case of emergencies. Is that something Chelmsford would consider offering?
ARPINEH, thank you for bringing this question forward to us at this time. We have not considered this for a couple of different reasons. One is financial, and then one is operational. So from a financial standpoint, this past year we actually removed the parking fee at the high school. So this is the first year that students don't have to pay a $200 fee to park at the high school. Parking is free. So to add just a $25 type fee, as you're suggesting, to be able to ride the bus wouldn't actually help pay for the cost of the bus that we would be trying to offset. I think secondly, operationally, our bus routes are pretty tight. So when we receive the information of the registration from students, K-12, who are going to be riding the buses, we generate bus routes off of that information. Our buses run pretty concise bus routes. We make sure that we don't assign students to buses so that there's the proper seating on the buses. And I think what this would actually do is possibly create some inefficiency within our bus runs if we had students basically double registering. So registering to ride a bus potentially and also park at the high school. We may end up in a situation where we actually had to add some additional buses or bus runs just to be able to accomplish the potential for students to be able to ride a bus if they wanted to. So I don't think for financial or operational reasons this would work. Students certainly, because now they have savings from not having to purchase a bus pass at the high school, parking pass at the high school, could purchase a bus pass if they would like to, but I don't see a reduced rate for just the option of being able to ride the bus on an as-needed basis.
Amy, an elementary parent, asked what the options are if a child needs medication while participating in the extended day program. She notes that the nurse is off duty and the adults cannot give medication to a child.
Thank you, Amy, for bringing this question forward for us. And this has come up a few times over the past few years. Our staff in the community education program who run our extended day programs do not dispense medication to students in those programs. So typically whenever a student who attends extended day in our buildings requires medication, the regular school nurse at each of the sites will administer the medication at about by 3:30 at the end of the school day before they leave for the day. So that is possible, and it can be coordinated with the regular school nurse who tends typically during the school day to the children at that school. But the extended day staff themselves in the after-school program do not administer medication.
Angela and her 2 children in elementary and middle school are suicide survivors. They face many challenges and would like to know what our district is doing to address mental health, suicidal depression, and anxiety, among others.
Angela, I know this is a very difficult topic, but I appreciate you bringing this forward because anxiety and suicide and depression levels are issues that we have to deal with in not only the Chelmsford Public Schools, but K-12 school districts across the country at this point in time. In Chelmsford, we actually have a pretty sophisticated curriculum that starts in the later middle schools, 7th grade through high school, through our health curriculum. We have a youth risk behavior survey that we implement at the middle school level to give us some data about students and how they're feeling, services that they may need, things along those lines. We also have a very incredible counseling staff in the schools. So starting at the elementary school level right up through middle and high school, we have school counselors in each of our buildings that can be a resource for students and staff if they need any type of supports. Chelmsford is also lucky to have school psychologists in each of our buildings. And a lot of times our counseling staff, whether it's our school counselors or school psychologists, are able to meet individually or conduct small groups with students who might be having difficulties or just need to talk to a trusted adult about anything that they may be facing. So as a district, we really do take these situations and these topics very seriously. What I think is important is really have that line of communication be open between students if they have questions or if they're feeling anxious or depressed, to know that they can go to an adult within their school, have an initial conversation, that it will be treated confidentially, but that the district and the teachers and the counselors and psychologists are there to support them in the community. In addition to some of our school-based services, we also actually this past year at our Parker Middle School hired a social worker. So that social worker has actually been instrumental in helping us link some of the outside organizations and outside services to families in need within the district. And I know that social worker has been pulled on from not only servicing the Parker, but has been a resource to other families and students within our district. I think in the years to come, we'll continue to add to our cadre of folks who help support the social emotional health and well-being needs of our students. We do take it very seriously. It needs to begin with that conversation, and we hope that our students feel very comfortable to come to us if they have issues, because we certainly have the support and the staff, both within the district and now, again, some tie-ins within the community to provide services to our students. Very sorry you had to deal with this situation, but we are there to support you. We hope that your students feel that way, your children feel that way. The district does a lot to help in this particular area. Thank you.
Tammy, an elementary parent, notes that the Harrington soccer fields are difficult to access, especially for the very young or the physically handicapped. Are there plans to make a path or walkway to access the field?
Hi Hi, Tammy. Thank you for bringing this question forward to us. The soccer fields at the Harrington Elementary School, located right to the left of the school if you're looking at it, are technically on town property. The school itself during the day does from time to time go down to the fields for a phys ed activity or a kickball game, something along those lines, but they're not technically on the property. I haven't myself gone down on those fields, but after receiving this question, as soon as the snow clears, I will go give it a go and see exactly how you navigate your way down to those fields. I will also convey this question to the town because it would be the Recreation Department or Public Works that would have to work with us to create some kind of a pathway or better stairs to get down to that field. But again, as soon as the spring comes and we're assigned to access that field again, I will personally go over and take a look at it for you and see if there is anything that we could recommend to the town to add. But that is actually a field that's on town property. It's not part of the school property, so it wouldn't necessarily be a project that would come under the purview of the public schools. But I thank you for bringing that forward.
Winter is coming, and it seems as though other schools are able to provide notice of weather cancellations the evening before rather than at 6 a.m. Is it possible for Chelmsford to have earlier notification of cancellations?
Thank you again, Sophia, for this question. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to make a cancellation or a delay notification the night before a storm. I think over the last few years you have seen several districts, including Chelmsford, where if we know there's going to be a significant snow event for the following year, and we know the night before that we're not going to be able to plow out the school parking lots, to plow the town roads, we work in conjunction with DPW and the Highway Department to do that. If we realize that there's absolutely no chance of us being able to have school the following day because of the weather forecast, and again, a lot has to do with timing of the storm, we will try to make the call the night before just to allow parents and staff the ability to plan accordingly for their students. However, we always try to have school when we can if the roads are safe and treated. So there is, again, based on the timing of the storm, sometimes we have to wait until the morning to make that call. We had a couple of storms earlier this year that we were able to make the call at night, which I think everyone appreciates. But in this past storm, the projections were actually fluctuating a little bit, and we decided to wait until the morning, like most districts, to make the call of whether we would have a cancellation, a delay, or regular school. One of the things that we do venture to accomplish is having the call be made by about 5 a.m. So 5 o'clock in the morning is about the earliest that we can make a call. At that point in time, there's a very long process that goes into actually making the decision about whether to hold school, cancel, or delay for the day. But at 5 o'clock in the morning, we typically make the final call for that particular day, given the forecast for that day. As you know, we send an email communication home and a voice phone call that gets broadcast through ConnectEd, our home school communication system. We also post our messages on the district Facebook account. I post it on my own Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, so that the students actually can hear the alerts. So typically by about 5:15 in the morning, most people have access to those calls. What I would recommend is following us either on Facebook or Twitter so that you get those notifications first. Sometimes it does take a few minutes when you're pushing out the email or the phone call district-wide for all the calls to be made. But if you actually are following us on Twitter or Facebook, or you look at our district website in the morning around 5:15 at the latest, you'll actually receive the notification as to what the district is going to do that day. Again, hold a regular day of school, a cancellation, or a delay. We endeavor to make the call as quickly and early as possible. We take into consideration staff and student safety as our top priority. We are not always able to make that call the night before, but again, make it as quickly as we can in the morning to make sure that it's communicated to the public. Thank you for bringing us that question.
Jen, a CHS parent, notices that many sidewalks are not cleared of snow before the start of school. Many students walk in the street creating safety concerns. Can we put a plan in place to address this concern before the winter comes? Mary,
thank you very much for bringing this question forward for us. This again comes into timing with regard to whether we hold a regular school day, a delay, or a cancellation. When we make that call very early in the morning, we make that based primarily on road conditions and travel on roads. So we always take a look at our main roads, we take a look at our side roads to see if our vehicles can safely travel to and from school. Again, a lot depends on the timing of the snowfall or the ice and the sleet when we're making that decision. If the snow happens to fall the day before and we're able to get in overnight and clean the roads and also the pathways to and from the schools, there's a different decision that can be made with regard to just having school go off at the regular time, a delayed time, or if we ever had to cancel school. Oftentimes when you have snow that falls during the school days, it's not always possible to wait for every sidewalk to be cleared. The town does a good job of trying to maintain all of our sidewalks within a couple-mile radius of the schools. It's not always perfect, and again, depends on the timing of the storm and how significant snowfall we have. If individuals have feedback or if they have concerns over certain sidewalks that aren't plowed either the day of a storm or right immediately following, the town's highway department and public works department can be notified and they will go out and actually take a look at that. You certainly are welcome to let the school know if you have a concern, and we can relay that to the town for you. However, the schools don't actually really have any control over the sidewalks themselves. We'll forward that information for you to the town. We'll work with them to try to resolve the concerns. We have more control over the actual sidewalks immediately abutting the school properties, so we make sure that those are clear. But we do need to work with our partners in the town to make sure that the sidewalks and main roads and side streets are safe and passable.
A parent of an elementary student wonders if it would be possible to hold teacher training days on Fridays instead of during the week.
4 or 5 years ago, the district actually surveyed parents to find out what their preference might be with regard to half days, and the full professional development day is always the first Monday in November. But we do get this question from time to time around the half professional development days. And to be quite honest with you, there was a mix of opinion with regard to what day that those should fall on. The district did for a couple of years try to schedule those days on the Mondays and the Fridays, but what we found was that there was a significant decline in attendance on those days. And even though it's a half day of learning and a full day of professional development, a full day for staff, they get a half day of professional development in the afternoons. We found that attendance was significantly lacking, primarily for the students on those days. We really try to schedule school days so that we can have maximum attendance so that all students who are in school during that day can receive full lessons. It's difficult if you have a quarter of the class or half the class taking the day off just because it abuts a long weekend. So we have strategically moved those professional development days to rotate between Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays to try to have maximum attendance of both students and staff on those half days. Thank you.
Craig, an elementary parent, is happy that there is a breakfast option for students. However, he notes some of the offerings such as donuts and yogurt or animal crackers and yogurt don't seem that healthy. Is it possible to offer healthier options?
Mary, thank you for bringing Craig's question forward about our breakfast program. This is actually the first year that we've been implementing breakfast on a full-time basis at each of our elementary schools in the district. And we've received actually some very good positive feedback about having the offerings in the schools, but from time to time people will question the choices or ask for accessibility to increased menu items. So it is going to take a little bit of time as we work through the kinks of actually implementing the breakfast program in the elementary schools. Oftentimes you might also see on a menu a donut or something that might not sound too nutritious, but the actual way that the donut is made or the ingredients that are used do meet all of the required USDA standards. Oftentimes whole wheat type products are used as opposed to regular flours within baking materials to make them more nutritious. And again, they do have to meet the USDA guidelines for food served within the schools. I think as more and more students start to participate in the breakfast program at the schools, we're going to be able to open up those offerings and provide more options for our students. This is something that Nancy Antolini, our Director of Food Services, and her staff are very open to. They like to receive feedback about what students would like to participate and eat in the breakfast, what other options might be available, and they are trying to add some additional options to their menus. So I think if you give it a little time, again, this is the first year of full implementation, so we're only a few months in, but we're now increasing our participation at the school level, which is allowing us to add some additional options, and I think you'll be happy with the menus as the school year progresses.
Thank you for watching Ask the Superintendent. We hope you enjoyed the show and encourage you to send in questions you may have. If you sent in a question and did not see it here, please tune in to the next episode. If you would like to submit a question, please click on the Ask the Superintendent button on the Chelmsford Public Schools homepage.